Welcome to Retirement Solutions for All Ages. I'm excited to have Corey join me today because one of the things about retirement is you can't take it with you. And Corey is a senior real estate transition specialist. And I thought he'd be a great person to talk about the transition of wealth and maintaining your wealth. So with that, let me introduce Corey so he can introduce himself.
Perfect, perfect. Well, thanks you for having me. Yeah, so as a certified senior real estate planner, I help people build, protect, and transfer generational wealth through real estate, kind of like a financial planner does for your stocks, your bonds, retirement accounts. I just do it for people's real estate. And then as a senior advocate and senior transition specialist, I help them downsize, relocate, and transition. Everything from like what to do with the stuff inside the home itself, and then how do we help plan for the future and beyond? Because there's so many times where I see families do something because they don't know what they don't know, or they don't do something because they don't know what they don't know. And what I've really uncovered is the more proactive we can be in our planning, the more proactive we can be in our living, and then most ultimately how we can be in control about our medical decisions, our financial decisions, our legacy, and it really helps families live a longer, healthier quality of life, as well as our families to get along with each other after passing. I think we've all known people who have passed away and, their family members end up not talking for years to come, or their kids who got along great before, oh, they got along so well. And all of a sudden they're arguing about who's going to sell the home. Should they sell the home? Should we not sell the home? Who's going to get this? Who is in the trust? Why did they get more than I got? And it just breaks up families and we see it crumble. And so we have a couple of different things that we do that definitely most agents don't do. But even like some advocates, they don't understand because they don't know what they don't know. Even trust attorneys we've worked with were like, okay, how many times have you done a trust? And after the person passed away, their families fought about what's in the trust. Oh, it happens way more often than you think. Like, well, what if we did a family feud prevention plan? Like, some of it is just like talking to everybody and explaining so they understand one, what a trust is. Most people do not know what a full estate plan is. Oh, I have my will. Okay, well, that's not a trust. Well, I have my trust. Okay, well, that's not an estate plan. What's the difference between an estate plan and a legacy plan? How do we make sure our long-term care plan is kind of included in that? Um, and so now, we work with estate planners, we're tax planners, financial planners, insurance planners, mortgage planners, seniors and their families really like, okay, how do we cohesively work all together to make sure the client's best interest is the only consideration? And then how do we do more than just be what we are? So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I'm working on a transaction right now where I'm learning all the different specialties of the different attorneys. It's like you have your elder law, your attorney, your bankruptcy attorney, your trust attorney, your title attorney. And it's like, they're like, okay, that's not my area, turn it over here. And it reminds me, when you are dealing with seniors, you're also dealing with a lot of medical needs. Well, you don't just go to your GP anymore. You have your pulmonologist, you have your, colonel, what all the different doctors. So
Yeah.
it's one of the things I like about your company, Corey, is that you have a collection of companies that do things because yes, you need one quarterback guiding all of that, which would be you, but you have all these other specialties. Tell people about some of your other companies.
So I own what's called the Complete Senior Transition Specialist. So we help people with decluttering, organizing, packing and moving, estate sales, staging the home, repairing the home, ultimately getting the house ready for the market, and then also help with the planning side of it. We do consultations and strategy sessions. So, I mean, and now it's grown to the point where like I'm partners with Matt Paxton from the show Hoarders or Filthy Rich. We have a company, it's his company, but I'm just an investor in it. But it's called Clutter Cleaner. So he goes around the nation now, and we have localized teams as well as mobile teams that will go and help people in extreme hoarder situations. Or maybe they have a lot of antiques and they just don't know how much they're worth, and they want someone they can trust. that's that organization. And a conglomerate of franchises and brands that help with that. I have a company that's called Invest for Purpose. So whenever I invest, it's always for a purpose of helping others. So one of the things that we do is called a CareBridge finance loan. So we've all heard of, well, not maybe all of us, but a lot of us in the mortgage industry, real estate industry have heard of bridge loans. It's where you have a house and maybe you want to buy another house and you haven't sold this one yet. You'll do a bridge loan to help you get this house. And then when this one sells, it pays off the bridge loan. But you have to have a home and you have to be going to another home. So with my CareBridge financing, what it is it's someone that has lived in their home and they need to go into maybe assisted living or independent living or memory care and they don't necessarily have the money to do so and they have to sell their house first. Well, I want them to get the care they need right away. So I will pay for them and this company will pay for them to go into assisted living, into memory care, pay off, transition costs like moving costs or placement costs or a mover manager. And we will help with all those costs. And then when the house sells, we'll get paid back. So it's something, there's another company called Elder Life that does something very similar. Um, I just found that like it's harder to qualify for elder life. I wanted to make it super easy that as long as there's equity inside the home and enough equity to pay for the CareBridge loan, then we'll do it. And we'll do it immediately. We sometimes the seniors that they've fallen and they got hurt, they went into a skilled nursing facility and now they're stuck there. So every day might cost them $1,000 to $3,000. So now it's like, how do we get them the care they need right away? Or maybe they just need care and they can't get it because they can't afford it because a lot of seniors and their families, they're equity rich, but they're cash poor. So this will allow them to be able to move into that community. Again, for the right person, right situation, I think it's a great product. If someone has, a big credit card they want to put it onto, if someone has family they can rent it from, if they have time to go get a loan, a traditional loan, those might be better options. I just want to make sure they know all their options and can self-discover which is best for them. I have a junk removal company that will help clean out properties. There are professional declutters and organizers. A lot of times they're 85 to $135 an hour. So sometimes if we're just trying to clean things out and we're not really worried about what's inside the home or the psychology of being able to get rid of things or dispose of things or donate things, well then sometimes it's a lot cheaper just to come in and throw everything away. But even junk removal companies sometimes like, oh, put everything on the curb and then we'll throw it in the trash or throw it in our trailer. Well, my company will actually go up 8 flight of stairs or 2 acres of property, and we will clean out everything. So it's a clean out and junk removal. Um, I have another company called the Dream Home. So again, when we come into a situation where we're seeing right now, especially in the real estate industry, is there's a lot of deals getting done off market. And it's mainly because there's investors and wholesalers that are calling 100 to 1,000 people a day to try to convince this homeowner who has a distressed home or is distressed, they're behind on their mortgage, they have a city violation, a tax violation, and they're saying, hey, the best way to do it is sell it because you're not paying commission. Well, you are paying commission. You're just not, you don't see that you're paying it, but they're discounting your price value of your home and usually by 20 to 30% because they have to take out the sales commission, use the resale commission, and then the rehab costs, and then the margins of it. So you're getting a lot less for your home, but it does happen very quickly. Well, what we do is we come in, we give them the options. And one of the 12 different options we give them is to say, hey, what if we could put the house onto the market, but what if it was already cleaned out and shelled out? Meaning that we'll come in, we'll clean it all out, we'll remove the dirty carpet, paint the walls white, and now allow the new buyer to treat it like new construction. So now the new buyer can come in and say, we want this kind of cabinets, this kind of flooring, these kind of countertops. We want to paint it this color. We want to add a pool. We want to add an ADU. Whatever they want to do, we can do an escrow, just like new construction has been doing for decades. Okay. But now the house already exists. So the buyer doesn't have to wait for the house to get built. They don't have to be in this HOA community or in this builders community. They can be in a place where their neighborhood of choice, find a home. A lot of times we can help them find the home as well, and they can actually move into the home just how they like it. The other bonus is the seller no longer has to sell to a cash investor and get pennies on the dollars. Now they get to sell their house for top dollar, even minus the cost of renovating it, and they get to get a lot more money than they get before. Um, and that ties in my best solutions for owners. Whenever someone calls me to even, whether they call me to list their home, to buy their home all cash, I always say, look, I have 12 different options. Through my best solution for owners, there's 12 different ways that you can sell your home. Here's all the different ways. Some are speed and convenience. Some are flexibility and security. And others are, I just want to get the highest price. So based on what their needs are, we'll line them up and say, here's your options. Now they can again self-discover which is best for them. They choose that, we help them, everybody wins. So that's pretty much how I call it the family of companies. Through a family of companies, we are the complete senior plan solution. And then we help people eliminate capital gain taxes, especially in like California, New York, some places in Florida, some of the East Coast and the West Coast, and some places even in the Midwest, people have a lot of capital gain taxes. As a primary resident, you get your $250,000 capital gain tax free if you're single, 500,000 if you're married. But some people have owned their home for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I'm dealing with one lady, she has $3 million of taxable gains. If she sells her home with a normal agent, she'll pay up to 42% of that in capital gain taxes. We're talking over a million, over almost $1.5 million she's going to pay to the government. Well, I believe if anyone's going to misspend and misuse our money, it should be us and our families, not the government. So we are actually helping her plan for a way where she's not going to pay a single dime. She's going to make more money and she's going to accomplish the goal of being able to sell her home and move to where she wants to move to. So we help people with investment properties, raw land, businesses, and real estate as general, or primary residential. And it's all to help them sell their property the best way, most advantageous they want to, and then help them eliminate or minimize capital gain taxes.
One of the things that makes me really sad is somebody has everything all planned out. Husband passes away, uh, wife wants to move in with the kids. Well, if she didn't do this before he passed away, the capital gains was just cut in half because it's a single person instead of a couple. And that just kills me. No one thinks about that. You know, I've had friends that they knew their husband was dying, and it's not something, you want to think about. How often would you say you're dealing with the kids versus the
Yeah.
parents?
I mean, I always tell everyone, like, whether I'm working with somebody that's 70, 80, 90 years old, or maybe they passed, I always try to get the adult children involved or a family member or someone they trust right away. One, I want to make sure as an advocate that I'm not misleading somebody, I'm not misinforming somebody, I'm not taking advantage of somebody. And I want a family member or someone they trust. I've worked with pastors, I've worked with, advocates like ombudsmans, and I bring them in to say, I hear this is what the situation is. This is what I've been told. Is there anything I don't know? And how do we make sure that we actually are helping people? So I'd say a lot of different times where, I mean, we are, and I think it's a good thing. There are also some times where the adult children are trying to take advantage of their parents. I mean, one of the reasons why I got into helping seniors and families, I had a basically the son-in-law stole $429,000 from his mother-in-law, left her unable to eat for 3 days. I mean, that's how like ruthless these people are. Um, so I really learned that you can't just plan. You actually have to help assist them with the plan and like work through it. Um, I think that happens. But going back to that situation, see, a lot of people don't know is one, how you hold title is super critical. So if in the situation where if there's community property with right of survivorship, and not every state allows that way to hold title, but if your state does, it's one of the most advantageous ways to hold title in a lot of different situations. There's some that it's not more advantageous. But if like in California, if I am married to my wife and we hold community property with right of survivorship, when I pass away, she gets the full settlement cost basis. So now there is no capital gain taxes because she now inherits that property, gets that property at the same value as when I passed away. Well, that's awesome because no capital gain taxes. Another one is, let's say you held it joint tenants with survivorship. Yeah, you'd only get half of the step up on cost basis. So you still get a step up on cost basis, so that could minimize taxes. Also, if you sell within 2 years of the person passing away, you should be able to get the other 500 or get the other 250,000. So the full $500,000 capital gain taxes, because the rule is you have to live in it 2 of the last 5 years. Well, he did or she did, whoever passed away, did live in it 2 of the last 5 years. So they should be able to get the full capital gain tax exemption. Obviously, talk to your CPA, talk to a tax planner. I am not one. I'm not trying to tell you how to advise on how to, file your taxes. But from what I know in the law and different clients we've helped out in the past, this is what our tax planner said was able to get done. Uh, and then if you do, again, if you do want to sell and there is a capital gain things, there's 14 different strategies. So whether you're alive, the advantage to wait until after you pass is you get the step up in cost basis. So that should minimize almost all, if not all, of the capital gain taxes. If you sell it while you're alive, then you do have some issues, or you might have some issues with capital gain taxes. Also, depending on is if your spouse is able to sign documents. They might be mentally incapacitated. They might be physically incapacitated. And if you don't have the authority to sell your property, get a loan on your property, if that was to happen, you, the title, the attorney, they won't actually allow that to happen. So again, it's why I think people just need to, like, everybody over the age 18 should have an estate plan, which includes a trust, a pour-over will, a financial directive, a medical directive, a long-term care plan, a HIPAA release, a power of attorney, and that should be written out in there of like, okay, if I become mentally, physically incapacitated, this is the person, they have the right to go get a loan on my behalf. So, yeah, that would be definitely something I would add in there.
Yeah, this is retirement solutions for all ages. And, one of the earliest episodes was about how to set your child up at age 16 so he can buy a house at age 18 because you need, some work history and income history. And I think what you said about needing this plan when they turn 18, you've used the example of a child going off to college, getting drunk or whatnot, end up in the hospital, and the parents can't do anything because they're a legal adult. So you need that power of attorney and directive, and you know you can't take it with you, and we're all going to die. Those are two things that we kind of need to keep in mind. So just because the actuaries say you might live to 83, well, you could be hit by a bus tomorrow. You need to plan.
Yeah. And I always tell people it's like when you're talking to someone over the age of 72, or maybe once they retire, two things they're concerned about most. Are they going to be able to afford to live off of their wealth for the rest of your life? So are they going to be financially capable to do so? And the next thing that comes right into the next question is, are they going to be able to leave an inheritance for their kids? And I always go like, there's a way to bless your kids while you're alive. If you do have that option, are you open-minded to hear what those are? Because there's ways that we can bless our kids while you're alive and not leave us in a situation where we can't afford to live longer than we thought we were going to live. I mean, I was dealing with one family that we helped. He got diagnosed with cancer, thought he was going to die, thought he had 6 months to live. And so he basically started gifting everything to his kids and to charities. And well, he ended up finding it and win. And now he's in a huge hurtful financial situation because of what he did before he met me. And we just would have structured it differently. Um, I believe in having an estate plan, but I also believe there's ways that you can bless your kids while you're alive, but still keep it within your estate plan. So we helped another family. He's an individual. He had four daughters and five property or four kids. Two were sons, two were daughters, but five properties. And he thought he had it all figured out. And when we sat down, they started arguing about who's going to get what and what they're going to do and when they have to do it. And I said, look, if you think it's bad now, wait till you after you pass away, because the motion stresses will come into play. So we actually worked at a plan where each kid got a predetermined their inheritance. So each kid started picking out what properties they would want instead of the ones that they had, and we worked it out. And at the end of the we called the Family Food Prevention Plan. At the end of that, he gave me a big hug and said, "Hey, you know what? Like I can die tomorrow, truly knowing that I've not only blessed my kids, but I've made it so they're not going to dispute afterwards. There's no taxes afterwards." And those are the kind of things that you're like, why I do what we do is that reason right there.
Yeah, I was talking to my brother the other day, and my dad passed away about 15 years ago, and we were talking about everything that led up to it. And sure enough, the night before, my dad called my brother up and said, "Okay, I've got a bunch of paperwork on the dining room table for you. Be sure to take a look." He knew, he he wasn't terminally ill or anything. It's just he had accomplished everything he wanted to, and he wanted to die happy. And it was like, okay, everything's all settled and worked out, and I can die happy.
Well, I mean, it's good that he had that part done because so many people. I mean, they say statistically only 33% of people have an estate plan,
I'm
and
surprised it's that many.
yeah, and that just means that there's like so many families out there that don't, and you're like, it doesn't only protect you while you're alive, or when you pass away, it protects you while you're alive. It protects you from conservatorship. I mean, like, and it's not just for the wealthy. I mean, there's wealthy people that have died and didn't have an estate plan. And I always think like, even if you only have 150, $200,000, like that's even more the reason to protect it because that 30% will really, really hurt you. Going through, like when people go through probate, their family members still have to afford the property taxes and insurance. If there's a loan, the upkeep of the property. If not, they lose it and they don't have the right just to sell it. So you still have to wait for a certain point of time to get through the probate process just to be able to have a judge say, okay, you're allowed to go sell it. Not that you'll get the money, but at least you can sell it and get that liability off of there. But
Right.
they again, people don't know what they don't know. And there's not a huge amount of people that are going and getting educated and sharing this with it. So that's why, I started the senior plan division because I wanted to share with and educate agents and loan officers and even others. We're now allowing investors to come in and just say, hey, how can we help you guys understand the true pain points of helping seniors and their families? Because that's ultimately where my heart is at.
Well, great. Well, Corey, I really appreciate you joining me on Retirement Solutions for All Ages.
Uh-huh.
And I think you're doing fabulous work. I look forward to working with you. I'm in Naples, Florida, and Asheville, North Carolina. You're in Southern California, and every state is different, but it's really important to plan ahead of time.
100%. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Keep educating and keep sharing their message. And, again, every single time you do this, if you inspire one person, you help one person, like it makes it all worth it.
Oh, great. All right. Thank you so much, Corey, and
Thank
have
you.
a great day. Bye. If this episode struck a chord with you, or you learned something new, or realized you need to learn something more, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future insights into retirement solutions for all ages. And if you know somebody that is older than you or younger than you, turning 18, turning 75, have them watch this episode, share it with them, because you can't take it with you and you never know when your time will come. Thank you for joining me on Retirement Solutions for All Ages.